Welcome back. I often say this, the old Don Taylor phrase of, and that's why they play the games. I used to love that. I'd turn on sports page at night and watch their in-depth reporting on each hockey game that took place, which probably helped inspire this on some level. And he would always say at the start, that's why they play their games, and that would be when it was an upset. When you would assume who was going to win. And tonight there were some games you might assume who was going to win. You might be wrong. All right, so we're going to start things off with the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Pittsburgh was ready for this, and Tampa really didn't get their feet under them. So it's Jarry versus Vasilevsky in this. Really fast back and forth to start, and Heinen opens the scoring from Kapanen and Malkin at 3:46. So yeah, Kucherov's then denied from in close. The shots 5.5 minutes into this are 7-2 for the Penguins. The Penguins also get a power play, and they score on it. It's Crosby with, I think, his 503rd goal. From Gensel and Malkin at 6:27. All Penguins. And then they keep coming. They're pressing for more. The Bolts pressure at the half. Penguins are shot blocking there. The Penguins pressure with 8.5 minutes left. Tampa Bay was stuck on 2 shots until there was 6.5 minutes left in the period. So it's a long time in between shots. Kapanen has a rush chance that deflects out. His next blast was deflected wide as Kapanen's all over the ice. And then we get Letang versus Point. That's another odd fight. So we go to the second period with it 2-0 for Pittsburgh. Crosby was down. He was hit by a stick. He was okay. There was no call on the play. Rust with a net drive. That wouldn't go. Perry then has a rush. Maroon is denied right after that. Bolts were defending better to start the period, and then Belmar puts him on the board from Maroon at 6:20 on a Pittsburgh turnover. So this is where you can start to see Tampa's getting their feet under them. Not for long. So the momentum had shifted. The Bolts were tying. Things get kind of scrummy after a Vasilevsky save. Then there's a press by the Pens at 9 minutes. Momentum's back with the Penguins. Really strong push as we get into the second half of that period. And eventually McGinn restores the 2-goal lead from Evan Rodriguez at 17:08. And this is a breakaway on a turnover. So turnovers are really prominent in these games tonight. Bolts try to answer. McDonough's denied. Things get scrappy because Perry's in the middle of it in the final minute. Of course, it's going to get scrappy. But the Penguins come out of it with a 5-on-3. And I put a question mark up because I'm like, wait, out of all that, there's 2 Tampa penalties. It's a 5-on-3 for Pittsburgh. John Cooper was choked. John Cooper was beside himself. And so the referee kicks John Cooper out. So Cooper was gone to start the third period, where we had 1:07 of 5-on-3 for the Penguins to start it off. And yeah, so the Bolts did kill that off. McGinn's then denied in close, but at 5:14, Pittsburgh extends the lead. It's Malkin from Heinen, and so it's 4-1. So remember, there's 9 games on at the same time by this point, so I have to kind of choose and pick which games I'm following most closely. And when this one's 4-1 and Pittsburgh's just in control, yeah, not only that, but then the Bolts are pressing at the half, and then they pull the goaltender with 7 minutes left because they're Tampa, and that's what they do. An empty net goal is scored by Gensel from Letang and Crosby at 14 minutes. So Pittsburgh goes into Tampa. They win 5-1. They go to 34-14-8. This might be the best all-around game I've seen Pittsburgh play in weeks. Tampa Bay drops to 35-12-6. They have to dust themselves off from this one quickly because this is a very busy schedule we have from here. Shots favor Pittsburgh throughout, 16-5 in the first, 12-8 in the second, 12-8 in the third. 40-21 are your final shots for Pittsburgh. I will say, as like an asterisk, the app hasn't been working tonight, so if some of these stats are off a little bit, I apologize. But there's a lot of zeros on the app that are populating late. So the power plays, Tampa 1 for 3, or Pittsburgh 1 for 3, Tampa 0 for 1. The hits were 29-15 for Tampa. Your 3 stars are Malkin, Gensel, and Heinen. They didn't populate until really late. So I gave up. I was like, you know what? To heck with it. Jarry, 20 saves on 21 shots. He played very well. Vasilevsky, 35 saves on 39 shots. And so, yeah, Pittsburgh goes in. They win the rubber match against Tampa. And now they have to take that momentum and try to go a little further because things are getting a little more interesting in the Metro Division. Next up, Florida. So Ottawa took a really interesting tactic into this game. It's Forsberg versus Bobrovsky in this one. The Sens were neutralizing Florida early, as in the shots were only 2-0 Panthers at 5 minutes. Well, that just makes the Panthers angry. They don't like that. So we get 2 minutes of 4-on-4, and it felt like that was part of what started the momentum for the Panthers. They were really picking it up. They get a power play. It's a 4-minute power play. Montour has a shot blocked. There's a post for Bennett, and then at 10:04, Marchment scores from Hornquist and Bennett. So Bennett up to double digits in assists with that. And then it was challenged for goalie interference. I thought he might challenge it for a perceived kick. I thought that was the one thing he might have tried to challenge for, but I didn't see goalie interference. They reviewed it, neither did they. So it becomes a 5-on-3 for 2 minutes. 8 shots during that 5-on-3. Poor Forsberg. It was not the only time I said poor Forsberg tonight. He was a one-man crew out there tonight. Panthers then get another power play. That was killed off by Forsberg. 2:47 left. The Senators get a power play. Norris hits the side of the net. Stützle has a chance that's blocked. That's killed off. Miraculously, by Ottawa's standards, it's only 1-0 after the first period, when the shots were more than triple in favor of Florida. So second period, Panthers pick up right where they left off. Barkov's denied. 28 Panthers shots in the first 27 minutes of this game. Yeah, like I said, poor Forsberg. Panthers get their 5th power play. The Sens did kill it off. The Panthers press after. The play seemed to be picking up for the Sens in the second half. Barkov has a rush chance that goes wide. The Panthers get another power play. Paul had some shorthanded time in the other zone to kill things off a little bit. They did kill it off, and they didn't allow a shot there, so that was nice because Forsberg was already up to a lot of saves. So we go to the third period, still 1-0. And again, it felt like it was a miracle because the shots are 37-11. Ottawa has no business being within a goal. So early Panthers power play, and they score on it. It's Hornquist from Marchment and Bennett at 3:09. So Bennett with a couple of helpers. And then Lomberg 12 seconds later. He scores from Vetrano and Luostarinen to widen that lead to 3-0. And then the game starts getting kind of emotional, kind of pushy. I mean, there'd been some scrapping back and forth as far as in the first period, but yeah. Senators get a power play. That was unsuccessful, so they follow it up with another, which was also unsuccessful. Watson fights Gudas. Panthers get a power play, but in the end, your final score is 3-0. So for Florida, they go to 36-13-5 and pass the Tampa Bay Lightning to get back into first place in that division. Ottawa drops to 19-29-5. 3 stars are Hornquist, Lomberg, and Bobrovsky. Shots, 25-7 in the first, 12-4 in the second, 11-7 in the third. The final shots are 48-18 for Florida. Yeah. Power plays, Ottawa 0 for 3, Florida 2 for 9. 9. And it's not like the referees were favoring Florida, just Ottawa was taking a lot of penalties because they didn't have the puck. So the hits are 37-29 for Ottawa. Forsberg saves 45 out of 48. Bobrovsky saves 18 for what was one of his easier shutouts. And yeah, that was quite the game. Next up, Minnesota in against Philly. So you'll notice I now have a magnet here. I'll go ahead and pull this off the board and put it back. So it's your gritty magnet. I ordered a set of stickers, and this was one of the reasons I ordered it, because I thought Philly's having a rough year, so I'm going to start using the gritty magnet, because, right? So it's Talbot versus Hart, and early on, Lawton scores a rush goal on a turnover at 3:49. In fact, 9 minutes into the first period, the shots are 4-2 Philly, and I was thinking, maybe Philly's going to win one. I need to stop thinking that. Goudreau has a net feed that wouldn't go, and then Hartman does tie it from Zuccarello and Kaprizov at 11:50. It does not stay tied for long. Brown restores the lead for Philadelphia from McEwen and Willman at 13:16. The Flyers then had a 2-on-1 that was broken up. There's a power play for the Flyers. Giroux had a chance that was saved. That's killed off. Mayhew fires one wide in the final minute. But yeah, Philly's up. They're doing well until there's 4 seconds left and Freddie Goudreau gets a goal. So it's 2-2 after 1. Second period, early press by the Wild. The shots are 3-0 for Minnesota at 4 minutes, but kind of against the flow of play. Konechny scores to put Philly ahead again from Lawton at 5:07. The Flyers press for another, and 8 minutes into this, the shots were 4 apiece, and I thought Philadelphia was doing a good job. And then at 9:04, Hartman scores the second of the game from Fiala and Addison. The Wild then pressed with 8 minutes left. The Flyers were stuck on 4 shots. The Wild were doing a good job of controlling it. But there's a late power play for the Flyers, and they score on it. It's Van Riemsdyk. I think that's the 7th power play goal of the season from Giroux and Yandel at 19:14. So, Philadelphia's ahead 4-3 going into the third period. And again, I was thinking, well, it's possible they hold it. Man. Wild get a power play. It's a delay game call. Zuccarello has a chance that's held. It's killed off. So, the Flyers penalty kill, they come up there. Fiala was denied as the power play ends. And then it's Boldy from Fiala at 12:16. And then it's Brodin from Kulikov at 12:41. So, yeah. Minnesota gets the lead on that one. I'm just going to take the power plays off because I know that's wrong. I know that's not how many power plays there were or how many power play goals. And because the app just keeps messing up, whatever. Provorov has a rush chance that's saved. The goaltender gets pulled with a little over 2 minutes left. Puck's cleared before Atkinson can bury one. Broussard has a chance that's covered, and then there's some punching. Because why wouldn't there be punching after a save? This is hockey, so you got to have some punching. I'll remember that the next meetup. 3 stars are Hartman, Fiala, and Lawton. So Minnesota wins this one 5-4. They go to 32-17 and 3. They have 2 of the 3 stars. Philly drops to 16, 28, and 10. Horrible record. Your shots, 12-10 Minnesota in the first, 12-6 Minnesota in the second, 14 apiece in the third. Final shots, 38-30 for Minnesota. The hits were 34-33 for Philly. The power plays, it's fine. Talbot, 26 saves on 30 shots. Hart, 33 saves on 38 shots. It really doesn't make a big difference because there's games on the other boards where the hits haven't populated in the app, and I'm not waiting an hour for them to populate in the app and doing this later because it just seems silly, right? All right, next up, Capitals. Capitals at home against Carolina. The Washington Capitals needed this game. We're not at the point where the Capitals are desperately trying to stay above the playoff line, but they don't want to keep losing so they get to that point. So it's Anderson versus Vanacek, and Anthony Mantha's back tonight for the Washington Capitals. So a strong start for the Caps. Really important they get out of the gate really well. Wilson was throwing hits, and there was some really good energy both from the fans as well as from the players. That's important. Caps get a power play. That was killed off. The shots are only 3-2 for the Caps at the half. I didn't think that indicated how well they were playing to that point. Canes get a power play. That's killed off. Caps get a second power play. It becomes a 5-on-3. Ovechkin has a shot that was blocked by Slavin, but Kuznetsov gets the 5-on-3 goal from Ovechkin and Oshie at 18:33. Canes then killed off the rest, so they killed the 5-on-4. Dowd was denied shortly after it ended. So it's 1-0 after the first period for the Caps. Second period, early power play for the Washington Capitals. Canes kept them from setting it up. They killed that off. Natchez has a rush chance that's blocked. He has been absolutely snake bit for the last couple of months now. He also had a rush chance. He was in alone, and he's robbed by Vanacek. So he had a couple opportunities on the same shift. Svechnikov is a net drive. That wouldn't go. The actual shots on net are 7-3 for the Caps at 7 minutes because the Canes shots aren't getting to the net. They're getting blocked out. They're just missing wide. They're missing high. And then Fir Avenue scores from Sherry and Hathaway at 8:30. So that makes the score 2-0. The Caps get another power play, and they score on it. And it's Ovechkin with his 763rd goal, which puts him 3 behind Yager on the all-time list, from Carlson and Oshie at 15:05. So that makes it 3-0. Good breathing room here for the Caps. They then get a power play. There was a shorthanded Canes get a power play. There's a shorthanded 2-on-1 for the Capitals. That misfires, but they did kill it off. With 1:16 left, the Canes go back to the power play. So that rolls over into the third. The Caps would finish the kill. The shots are 4-1 for the Canes at 3.5 minutes. Carolina had a very good third period, but so did Vanacek. Vanacek had an excellent third period. Trocheck can't bury as the Canes press. Strong first half for Carolina, but again, Vanacek is just saving everything. Oshie to Backstrom, Anderson saves on that. Canes press with 4.5 minutes left. There's a power play for the Caps. It doesn't score, but it does kill another 2 minutes. And then in the final minute, Orlov scores from Sherry and Schultz at 19:02. The Caps, huge win tonight, 4-0 over Carolina. Carolina drops to 37, 12, and 5. The Capitals 29, 18, and 9. So the Penguins should thank the Capitals tonight, which has to feel a little bit weird. That being said, I do need to change boards. Did I get into? I didn't get into the stars and everything. Oh, I almost made that mistake. 3 stars: Vanacek, Kuznetsov, and Fir Avenue. Your shots in this one: 8-6 Washington in the first, 16-13 Washington in the second, 17-9 Carolina in the third. Final shots actually favor Carolina, 36-33. Power plays: Carolina 0 for 3, Washington 2 for 6, including the 5-on-3 goal. Hits were 21-18 for Carolina. Anderson saves 29 out of 33. Vanacek saves all 36 for the shutout. Not bad. So Samsonov goes down with an injury. Doesn't affect the Caps tonight. They end up getting the shutout win. No harm, no foul. Take your time, Samsonov. There's no hurry. Vanacek's got this locked down. Now, I need to change boards. Now, Vancouver and the Islanders, next up on the board. Demko versus Varlamov in this one. And like I said in the preview this morning, this is a game Vancouver needed. If Vancouver is really seriously going to make a run at the playoffs, they have to start racking up some wins, getting further above 500, because the race in the West is definitely heating up. So Demko versus Varlamov. Early jump was for the Canucks. The Islanders press at 4.5 minutes. Pelech nearly scores. Demko saves on that. The shots are 4-1 for Vancouver at 5 minutes. The Canucks get a power play. Islanders did kill that off. Varlamov makes a shoulder save. Canucks were aiming high on Varlamov right out of the gate here. The Islanders press with 8.5 minutes left. The shots are evening up in the second half as well. I thought the Islanders were playing okay. The Canucks got a pretty good lead in the shots. After that 4-1, it was actually further ahead. Besser had a screenshot that was kicked aside. Late power play for Vancouver. It was unsuccessful. So it's scoreless after the first. Second period, Mayfield has a rush chance that ends up being deflected out. Myers breaks up a rush, but Dobson scores during that set of plays from Nelson and Green at 3:37. The Canucks would try to answer, and eventually they do, and it's Brad Hunt scoring at 7:19. So that ties it up. Parise then can't bury as the Islanders are trying to press back for the lead. Nelson has a chance that's saved and held. Besser would fire one through the crease, but eventually during that same shift, the Canucks actually get the lead. It's JT Miller from Besser and Hughes at 11:50. Dobson, though, nearly answers. Dobson continues to have an amazing run on an Islanders team that's having some problems, but he's not. Garland then has a chance that's saved and held. Beauvillier with a net drive. That wouldn't go. They press. And late in the period, it's Kyle Palmieri who's heating up as well. From Pelech and Pajot at 18:20. So there you go. 3 Ps all combining on the goal. So that makes it 2-2. And then early in the third, it's Beauvillier scoring at 1:43. And it looks like the Islanders are going to pull this out. The shots are 4-1 for the Islanders at 3.5 minutes. The Canucks did press back at 4.5. The fans try to call a penalty. The ref says no. The Islanders didn't have a power play in this game, according to the official game summary. I had to go to the official game summary for the power plays on all this. So, yeah. Höglander, though, would tie the game from Garland and Hughes at 9:34. Höglander has been cold scoring-wise lately, so that may get him started. And then Podkolzin, less than a minute later, on a nice feed from Horvat at 10:19, puts the Canucks up 4-3. So the Islanders would press back. Nelson with a tip chance that was saved. The goalie gets pulled with 2 minutes left with 1 minute and 21 seconds left. The Islanders call a timeout to no avail. The Canucks hold on. They win 4-3. They go to 27, 23, and 6. The Islanders 20, 23, and 8 with the loss. Your 3 stars are Hughes, Miller, and Dobson. Your shots favor Vancouver in the first and second, 13-8 and 16-9 respectively. And then the Islanders outshoot Vancouver 10-9 in the third. Final shots 38-27 in favor of Vancouver. Vancouver had 2 power plays, unsuccessful. The Islanders didn't have any. Hits were 23-19 for the Islanders. Demko saves 24 out of 27. Varlamov saves 34 out of 38. And so the Canucks, again, keeping their playoff hopes alive, because they weren't getting much help elsewhere. So next up is Chicago against the Edmonton Oilers. And so the Oilers, I mean, this honestly, it's an interesting game, this one. It was really back and forth. I had a really hard time figuring out. I'm not sure why I have that there, so I'm gonna get rid of that. It's Koskinen versus Fleury. Entwistle with a rush. He fires wide. And then at 2:34, the first shot on goal for Chicago goes in. It's Lafferty from Kurashev and Carpenter, which I was thinking, there's Oiler fans watching this going, great, the first shot goes in on Koskinen. Shots were 3-1 for Chicago at 5 minutes. The Oilers were pretty flat to that point. They just did not come out to play right away. The Oilers get a power play. Draisaitl has a blast that deflects out. The power play's killed off. Seth Jones has a chance that's tipped wide. The Oilers go back to the power play. This time they score on it. It's Draisaitl from McDavid and Barrie at 14:35. Chicago restores the lead. It's Patrick Kane from Strome and Caleb Jones at 16:55. The Hawks get a power play. It's unsuccessful. And then Evander Kane, before the period's up, he scores from Draisaitl and Nurse at 19:26. So that makes it 2-2 after one. Second period. Now we're into the two. Kubalik's denied. He was denied a few times tonight. Eventually, he would have a breakthrough. But yeah, Koskinen had a pretty good run after that first shot went in on him. Oilers had a 2-on-1 that was defended. There's a power play for the Oilers. Shorthanded chance for Lafferty was saved and held. The Hawks were leading in shots 8-3 with 9.5 minutes left. Barrie was not on the Oilers bench at this point. The good news was that the Oilers tonight dressed 11 forwards and 7 defensemen, so they had enough defensemen to make up for it. Yamamoto has a rush chance. That's defended. The Oilers get a power play. It's killed off. There was a 3-on-2 for the Oilers that's defended. After the third period, after the second period, it's still 2-2. Now it's 2-2 after 2, and I said third period. Man. Third period, 2:49. Kubalik restores the lead for Chicago on a turnover. So turnovers, issue. Kubalik puts it in the net. Koskinen then holds on to a Tyler Johnson shot. The Hawks were limiting the Oilers' chances to this point. I thought they did a pretty good job. Eventually, the Oilers start breaking through. The shots are 6-2 for the Oilers at 7.5 minutes. Hawks break up a Yamamoto chance. Pretty slow pace in the second half, which seemed to work for Chicago. But again, the Oilers then start speeding it up again. There's a press by the Hawks with 7.5 minutes left. Caleb Jones has a chance that's saved. There was more pressure by them. But then Draisaitl nearly ties it as the Oilers would press back. 1:09 left. The Oilers call a timeout. This is after they've already pulled the goaltender. They score 6-on-5. Evander Kane from McDavid and Bouchard at 19:10. And it went in off Seth Jones' stick. You could see the body language off Seth Jones when that one went in. You knew it went in off his stick. That is the first Edmonton goal. At least this is what they said on the broadcast. The first 6-on-5 goal for the Oilers. You would think with the amount of talent they can throw out there, it wouldn't be their first, but apparently that's it. Ties it up, forces overtime. The Oilers control on the face-off, but they give up the puck, and then the Oilers draw a penalty at 59 seconds. So the Hawks go to the power play. Patrick Kane fires one wide. He fires another one wide, and eventually he decides, I'm just going to give it to DeBrincat. And that works. At 2:23, DeBrincat scores the power play goal that wins the game from Kane and Seth Jones. So Seth Jones helps to set it up, making up for the fact that the tying goal goes in off his stick. No chance for Koskinen on that one at all. So your final score is 4-3 in overtime. The Oilers get the point. They go to 30, 21-4. They move ahead of Dallas. They're tied now with Vegas in points, but they really wanted that second point. That would have catapulted them into second in the division. The Chicago Blackhawks with the win go to 20, 27-8. And I mean, it's a bright spot in what's been kind of a down season. So your 3 stars are DeBrincat, Patrick Kane, and Lafferty. I was a little bit surprised Evander Kane didn't get into the 3 stars with the 2 goals he had. Shots in this one favor the Oilers in the first 11-8. Chicago in the second 12-5. Oilers in the third 16-10. Chicago had both shots in overtime, including the one that matters. Final shots were 32 each. Power plays, Edmonton 1 for 4, Chicago 1 for 2. Hits hadn't populated at the time I'm putting this video together. Koskinen 28 saves on 32 shots. Fleury 29 saves on 32 shots at the other end. And I thought Fleury played very well. I thought Koskinen was good too. And yeah, the Oilers do get the point, but they're going to regret not getting both. Because again, the West is really heating up. Tomorrow night Dallas is playing, and they have a chance to maybe go a point ahead of Edmonton and create some more chaos in a Western Conference that's going to come down to the wire. All right, next up, Calgary, Montreal. This was so much fun. So one thing with watching games, and especially when there's a night like this where there's so much hockey going on, when you have a game like this where I don't have an emotional attachment either way, this was such a fun, especially once you get towards the ending of this. You have Hammond versus Markstrom. I obviously would be cheering for Hammond to continue what's been a remarkable return to the NHL. Shots are 3-1 for the Habs at 4 minutes, so they came out well, protecting their goaltender and driving the play. There's a press by the Habs at the halfway mark, but Calgary scores first. It's Coleman from Mangiapane and Backlund at 11:06. To Montreal's credit, That doesn't dissuade them. Paling has a chance. There was a near miss wide. The Habs get a power play. That was killed off. Flames get a power play of their own. Gaudreau's denied. Hammond holds on. They kill it off. But in the final minute of the period, Montreal gets the second goal. It's Petrie from Suzuki and Lehkonen at 1934, or gets the first goal for Montreal to tie it. Sorry. Petrie from Suzuki and Lehkonen in 1934 makes it 1-1 after one. So we go to the second period. And again, for Montreal, they played very well against Calgary. They had almost double the shots of Calgary in the first period. And yeah, this was interesting. But then the second period, things kind of turn. So the puck hits Sherratt in the mouth. He was okay. It didn't look great. I don't know if he lost any teeth or not. But I don't know, the way he played the rest of the game, maybe it helps. So Caulfield had a rush chance that was defended. There were few chances in the first 5 minutes, which again, I think favors a road team in this case. You don't want to let Calgary get a bunch of opportunities. So there's a power play for the Flames. There's a shorthanded chance for Suzuki. Goes to Pitlick, ends up in his feet. He can't quite get to it. Zadorov has a shot that's saved. It's killed off, and then we get 10 seconds of 4-on-4. Everything gets killed off, and then there's a turnover by Montreal, and Johnny Gaudreau makes them pay for it at 12:08. So Calgary gets the lead. The Habs then get a power play, and it's Calgary that scores during it. It's Mangiapane, top shelf, 15 minutes and 40 seconds on a turnover. And so 2 turnovers lead to goals for Calgary. They're up 3-1. The Mangiapane goal, I was actually kind of surprised they didn't give that goal or an assist to Markstrom on the play. I guess a Montreal player touched it in between. Either way, Mangiapane, nice goal, makes it 3-1. The Habs go back to the power play. The Flames are dangerous again, though. Then we get a 5-on-3 for 56 seconds. The Flames did clear it out right away, but Montreal does get the puck in the zone, and eventually they score, and it's Suzuki. It's a weird goal, and when you look at the replay, it goes underneath Markstrom's pad. It's one of those things that might be a little bit of luck mixed in, but he scores from Hoffman and Caulfield at 17:44. So there's Cole Caulfield on the board again. And so the Flames then kill off the rest. Lehkonen can't tip one in. So after the second period, it's 3-2 for Calgary. I'm still expecting Calgary to win this game. Third period, early press by the Flames. There's a stretch pass to Josh Anderson, which was a near miss. But Sherratt ends up scoring from Hoffman at 4:38. Markstrom was choked. Gallagher was right in his face. He didn't interfere. There was no goalie interference. They didn't even try to challenge for it. But you could see that Markstrom was choked because Gallagher was right kind of up in his face and doing it in a way that wasn't goalie interference. And I'm not saying that's why the puck goes in, but it doesn't help Markstrom in that case, right? Dauphin can't bury one. Habs are seeking the lead. Lewis was then denied twice. That fourth line was very good for Calgary. The Flames get a power play with 7:52 left. Hoffman, though, would end up scoring from Dauphin after they killed that off at 17:15. This is the first lead of the game for Montreal. They came into this period down 3-2. They're suddenly up 4-3. A lot of Montreal fans in attendance because it's a Canadian city, so of course there is. There was a lot more cheering than I had expected for Montreal with the comeback for the lead. So goalie pull with a minute and 30 seconds left. Montreal ices it with a minute and 20 seconds left, and they're tired. And so at 19:32, after some good pressure by Calgary, they do wear down that defense and they score. I think it was Petrie that tried to clear it and just didn't have the energy to get it out of the zone. So Lindholm scores from Mangiapane and Anderson at 19:32. That forces overtime. Overtime, the Habs control on the faceoff. Flames would get it back, but then Montreal recovers it, and Sherratt scores on a 2-on-1 from Pitlick and Hoffman at 1:03. So Montreal goes into Calgary. They win 5-4 in overtime, and they sweep the season series. They go to 14-34-7 with the win. Calgary drops to 32-14-7 with the loss. 3 stars are Hoffman, Mangiapane, and Suzuki. Your shots, Calgary is outshot in the first period 16-9 by Montreal. Both teams had 7 shots in the second. Calgary outshoots Montreal 18-10 in the third. In the overtime, Montreal had both shots. Final shots 35-34 for Montreal. Power plays, Montreal 1 for 6, Calgary 0 for 3. Hammond saves 30 out of 34. Markstrom saves 30 out of 35. So not a great night statistically for Markstrom, but a lot of those goals pretty good. And again, you've got a lot of turnovers that lead to these goals too. So, entertaining night for Montreal. Playing spoiler yet again. Next up, Coyotes, right? Coyotes. So every team in the league needs to talk to Andre Tourigny. Give him a call. Okay, how do you stop Colorado? How do you guys do this? We need to know. He can charge them. He can make a little money on the side because clearly Arizona has some kind of a book on Colorado. This is their fourth and final meeting. And outside of the game that Colorado wins 5-0, they've all been very close. So it's Francouz versus Vejmelka. The shots are 2 apiece at 3.5 minutes. Evenly played. Mayo has a chance to deflect wide. Kadri has a rush chance. Nice toe save there by Vejmelka because it was tipped on its way to Vejmelka. Coyotes are playing the Avs tight again. Really tight. And you could just see it, that this was not going to be an easy night for Colorado. The Avs press, but the Coyotes keep them to the outside. And a really good first period for Vejmelka. So we go to the second period. The Avs press at 4 minutes. Girard has a net feed option that tips out. But then Taves opens the scoring for Colorado from Makar and McKinnon at 5:48. Then McKinnon with a rush chance, Vejmelka saves there. So you could see that the momentum's with Colorado. And right at that point, I was thinking, well, I mean, Arizona can't beat them all the time. I mean, it makes sense that Colorado would beat them here and there. Tonight was very unpredictable. So power play for the Avs. Burakovsky can't bury one just as it comes to an end. The Avs are in control, but Vejmelka is holding the fort. Until Arizona gets their second wind, he is doing his best to hold the fort. Coyotes get a power play. Kessel has a chance that deflects wide. Power play's killed off. But with a minute and 49 seconds left, Louis Eriksson gets a goal. Yep, from Roussel and Mosier. So Eriksson enjoying his year in Arizona, and it's 1-1 after 2. It's 1-1. It's the third period. Early Avs power play. Landeskog hits the post. So again, Colorado, they're in a position where, okay, this is where they get the lead. Nope. Makar has a blast that's saved. Kadri's denied. It's killed off. And clearly the Coyotes ready to look for the upset now. After that penalty kill and a little bit of lucky breaks there with the posts and whatnot, Coyotes have a 2-on-1. Kessel was denied on that. Krause is denied on a cross-ice pass. Schmaltz is not. He has 10 points in his last 8 games. He scores from Keller and Chychrun at 5:27. It was a great pass by Keller. Nice goal. And it's 2-1 Arizona. Here we go. Coyotes press at 7.5 minutes. Chychrun's robbed there. So now the Coyotes are ready to just take over the game. Makar has a blast that's saved and held. There's a post for Schmaltz on a rush, so it's not just the Avs hitting the post tonight. Goalie pull with a minute and 15 seconds left. 54.8 seconds left. The Coyotes guilty of an icing. There's an empty net miss by Keller, which becomes another icing call. Things get really brawly after a Vejmelka save. The Coyotes ended up shorthanded out of that. But the important thing was, with 3.5 seconds left, there's a face-off in the neutral zone, and that allows the Arizona Coyotes to hold on. They win 2-1. They go to 15, 35, and 4 with the win. Colorado drops to 40, 11, and 4. So they're glad to be done with Arizona. It's weird. It's bizarro world. So 3 stars in this one are Schmaltz, Vejmelka, and Eriksson. So all Arizona, and I can't argue too much with that. Your shots, 12-8 Colorado in the first, 18-13 Colorado in the second, 13-8 Colorado in the third. Final shots 43-29 for the Avs. Power plays, Colorado 0 for 2, Arizona 0 for 1. Francouz saves 27 out of 29. Vejmelka saves 42 out of 43. So, yeah, Vejmelka played pretty well tonight, and pretty impressive win for Arizona. I got to be honest. I thought they played well. Vejmelka definitely helps them, and there was a couple of posts there that cost the Avs. But again, the rest of the league should be calling Arizona, or at least watch the film, figure out what they're doing that other teams aren't. Or is it just Colorado playing down to Arizona's level? I don't think so. I really don't. But anyways, I'd be interested to know what you guys think in the comment section below. And I have to change boards. All right. Boston and Vegas. So this game was being carried on ESPN. And you had Chris Chelios and Mark Messier doing the color commentary. And I understand they don't normally do that kind of thing, and they're newbies in the booth. But boy, did they ever sound like they were both cheering for Vegas. Like, I understand that Boston's not a popular team, and that Messier played for the Oilers, who played the Boston Bruins in the finals in 88 and 90, and that Chris Chelios played for Montreal against Boston a lot. In Chicago, he still would have run into Boston here and there. So I understand if they don't like Boston, but I don't know, maybe hide it a little bit. It's just, and that may just be me who is hearing this, but if you guys felt that in the comments, let me know in the comment section below. And I know it's not the first time that ESPN or TNT announcers have sounded like they're cheering for a particular team. There have been games where they're clearly cheering for Seattle. There have been games where they're clearly cheering for Florida that I've seen. So, yeah, Swayman versus Leonard in this one. Swayman, another really good game. Jeremy Swayman continues to show that, yeah, Boston had a pretty good goaltender. When everybody else was like, yeah, they got goaltending problems. No, they don't. Even when Swayman's numbers were down early in the season, I didn't put any of that on Swayman. So the Bruins came out hitting. And honestly, it's a shame that the hits weren't populated on the app, because maybe that's what broke the app, was just Boston throwing all these hits and like, screw it, we're not counting all these hits. You know what? Nobody's counting any hits. So the shots are 4-1 for the Bruins at 4.5 minutes. DeBrusk is denied on a break, but he draws a Boston power play. That leads to a shorthanded chance for Pietrangelo. That power play wasn't very successful. So it's killed off. There's one shot for Boston. I think there were 2 shots for Vegas, and they have momentum coming out of that. So Howla then had a 3-on-2. That was saved. Leonard holds during that. And then Smith. Craig Smith, who's been cold for a while. Well, not tonight. He scores from Frederick and Forbert at 13-18. But in the last minute, there was some pressure by Vegas. So it's 1-0 Boston after 1. Vegas, though, playing pretty well. Second period, more early hits by the Bruins, mostly. There were some by Vegas as well. I don't have the count. Power play for Vegas. Rush chances for Vegas, but the Bruins do kill it off. Bruins have a 2-on-1. Frederick's denied there. Riley drives one wide. And then Smith scores from Coyle and Frederick at 11:03. And when Boston scores and you hear the announcer go, that's too bad. You know, Vegas was doing really well and they were pressing. That's too bad. I think it was Chelios. That's too bad. Like, anyways, and again, I get it. Everybody hates Boston. I get it. It's all right. It's okay. But yeah, Vegas presses with 6 minutes left. Bruins were clogging up the middle, but at 17:34, Jack Eichel puts Vegas on the board. And the response to that was, Swayman saved so much, he let that one in? Okay. Bruins try to answer, but after the second period, it was 2-1 for Boston. Third period, early press by Vegas. There's a crossbar for Carrier. Power play for Vegas. That's killed off. The shots were 4-2 for Vegas at 6.5 minutes. And at 8:14, Pasternak widens the lead. He scores from Frederick and Howla. So at 8:14, he gets his 30th of the season. That's 5 30-goal seasons, I believe, for Pasternak. And so he continues to work his way up through the list of all-time greats for Boston when it comes to goal scoring. And it was on his own rebound, too. It was nice that he followed that up. Pasternak then fires wide on a rush as he looks for more. But Craig Smith scores the hat-trick goal from Grzelcyk and Carlo at 14:39, which I'm sure that was too bad, too. That made it 4-1. Too bad. Goalie pull with 4 minutes and 50 seconds left. I may from now on, when Boston scores a goal, say, it's too bad. So Marchessault scores from Pietrangelo and 16:38 with the goalie pull. So again, I've watched Vegas do this. I have watched Vegas pull the goalie, and in this case, they pulled the goalie with almost 5 minutes left. And I've watched them come back. And so I know how dangerous they are 6-on-5. They did pull the goaltender again almost right away after, once they'd established time in the offensive zone. But Pasternak sets my mind at ease a little bit from Howell at 18:20, which I'm sure is too bad. Boston wins 5-2. They go to 33-18-4. Vegas drops to 30-21-4 with the loss. And all kidding aside, Vegas does have a losing record at home. Now, they're above NHL 500, but what I mean by that is they've lost more games at home than they've won, if you include the overtime and shootout losses as losses. And Vegas is very close to that line for the playoffs. They now have 64 points. That's the same amount of points as Edmonton. They are 1 point ahead of Dallas. So I understand they've got players out. I get it. But Vegas is really flirting with dropping below that playoff line. Your 3 stars in this one are Smith, and that's Craig Smith, Eichel, and Pasternak. Shots, 12-10 Vegas in the first, 16-13 Boston in the second, 11-10 Vegas in the third. Both teams had 36 shots. Power plays, Boston 0-1, Vegas 0-2. Swayman saves 34 out of 36. He was excellent. Leonard saves 31 out of 35. And so Boston goes into Vegas. They bounce back from that loss against Anaheim, and it looks like they learned their lesson. and came out much better against Vegas. And in that way, they did a favor for the Anaheim Ducks as well. So if you're a fan of a Western team that's chasing a playoff spot, sadly tonight, you can't say it's too bad that Boston wins, because it gives your team a fighting shot. All right, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding any of these games. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.